Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Kabir Considers. In this video, we're going to react to It's Begun, the fastest collapsing 11 states in the US. Now, from what I've seen, there is something happening in society. I read an article yesterday that showed that a large and growing amount of Canadians have just stopped paying bills. They've just stopped paying them. A lot of people are just really feeling like the system of which we all operate in, you get a job, you go to work, you try and buy a house, etc. You raise children. That whole lifestyle for a lot of people is impossible because a lot of people, they're working really hard. But what they make, they can't afford to buy a home of their own. So they feel like they're going to be renting for their entire lives. There's a lot of people that are unhappy, and it must be happening in America as well. It's happening in England, that's for sure. There's lots of groups on social media that are encouraging people to stop, paying bills and stuff. So I wondered, which states is this affecting the most? Not just the disillusionment, but in terms of the quality of life in those states, the crime levels in those states, things like that.
Back to the only gluten and AI-free listicle channel on YouTube. Today we're looking at states that have been losing population. There are 50 states and only 14 lost population in 2023. Three of those states, New Mexico, Massachusetts, and Maryland, lost about 0.1%. In this video, we are looking at the other 11. States should not be losing population. Death rates and birth rates are normally about the same, with birth rates being a fraction higher most years. Where the difference comes from is the people moving out versus moving in. When you have a state that's breaking even on population, it's bad. It's usually an indication that something's not going right in the state. But if you're actually losing more than 0.1%, that's really bad. It may not seem like a big number, but when it comes to population, that is a big number. But today we're looking at the top 11 states.
Absolutely, because the state relies on the income tax and everything, right?
People are ditching faster than a bad blind date after you tell her that you're on parole and you forgot your wallet at your halfway house. Got it? Get it? Good.
Let's go.
Take a look.
Really?
Number 11, California. Californians are finally realizing that living in a perpetual state of sunshine isn't all it's cracked up to be. Sure, the beaches are nice, but have you tried finding parking near one? You have better chances of finding a unicorn. And
that's not true. I went to Santa Monica Beach last year in November and found parking super easy. There was lots of parking by Santa Monica Beach.
Traffic. It's faster to walk, or better yet, teleport. If you can figure that out, you'll be a billionaire. And who needs a backyard when you have wildfires as your seasonal landscaping? California still has some really nice things, like the weather. The beaches are great. More than enough plastic surgeons, and they have great produce, like avocados. Avocados might be trendy, but they're not worth mortgaging your future for. They're expensive everywhere. Who wants to spend their golden years eating avocado toast under a bridge? But these days, after over 150 years of growing, California is actually losing population. That's right, people are packing their bags and heading to places where the sun occasionally takes a break. A lot of people think it's the politics that are driving people out of California. It's not that. It's housing costs. Now, obviously, when it comes to policies, that has to do with politics, and different policies in California have driven up the real estate prices. But that's not the whole picture, and that's not the number one thing. It is the housing costs. In 2023, California lost 0.3% of their population.
Wow, that's surprising, because even with all the problems in California, the high taxes and, the high population, I would have thought with the amount of people that want to become actors, singers, social media people that flood into the state, that you would never see like a population decline. Quite surprising.
Number 10, Alaska. Alaska is the land of the midnight sun and mosquitoes the size of hummingbirds. While the breathtaking scenery and abundance of wildlife are undeniable draws, there comes a point where the allure of 24-hour daylight wears off, and the novelty of dodging moose on your morning commute fades away. Cabin fever sets in during the endless winter nights. And the only social interaction you get is when the postal worker braves the elements to deliver your Amazon packages. The cost of living plays its part too. It is expensive for a lot of different things in Alaska. We've talked about this before on this channel, that everything has to be shipped there, past salmon, I guess. Talked about how avocados were expensive in California. I watched a video about a guy that lives in Soldotna, Alaska. His wife wanted to make guacamole. He went to the grocery store. He hadn't bought an avocado in years. They were $10 a piece.
Whoa! $10 for one avocado. Forget it. That is wild. That is actually insane. Like here, you can probably get 2 avocados for maybe £3, I think. Something like that. That is insane.
Like, gotta go home and tell your wife, if you want to make guacamole, you're gonna have to sell a kidney. There are a lot of great things about living in Alaska, especially if you like the outdoors, but most of the negatives overwhelm the positives of Alaska. You have unique fashion challenges where parkas and snow boots become year-round attire, and you start questioning your sanity when you find yourself layering thermal underwear under your swimsuit. So while Alaska may hold a certain rugged charm, the relentless cold, isolation, and exorbitant prices eventually drive many to seek sunnier, cheaper, and less frostbite-prone pastures. The most common reason for leaving Alaska was the psychological toll. Alaska lost 0.3% of their population in 2023.
I would love to visit Alaska, though. I'd love to go see the Yukon, the Arctic Circle, just to, get a feel for it. Because it's always that place where someone's running away and they want to start a new life. They always move to Alaska. I'd love to go and just see what it's like there.
Let's talk about today's sponsor, Rocket Money. I recently found out I was a link in the description to get started for free. You can also unlock even more features with premium. That's rocketmoney.com/Briggs to get started for free.
Rhode Island.
Number 9, Rhode Island. Rhode Islanders are known for their thick skin and their thicker accent, but even they have their limits. After all, how many Dunkin' Donuts can one person consume before needing a change of scenery? The state is infamous for horrible roads. I mean, they have potholes that'll swallow up your car.
Really?
Now, Rhode Island does have some beautiful beaches. Sure, most of the year you can't go down to them and enjoy yourself because they're pretty cold, but they're still nice, they're beautiful. But the winter weather...
Wow, that is cool. This art installation here,
where the nor'easter can turn a quick trip to the grocery store into an Arctic expedition, is not fun. It's no wonder many Rhode Islanders eventually pack their bags, seeking refuge in lands where the coffee doesn't have to be from Dunkin', the roads are paved, and the sun shines a little brighter and a little bit longer. The number one reason given by Rhode Islanders on why they move away was the weather. Rhode Island lost 0.3% of their population in 2023.
Yeah, Rhode Island isn't one of those places that, when I hear about Americans leaving California or leaving New York, I never hear them saying they're going to Rhode Island. Honestly, the amount of times Rhode Island is mentioned in movies or TV shows from America is so low. Yeah, I'm not too surprised. What are the main things, attraction? Are there any tourist attractions in Rhode Island?
Number 8, Pennsylvania. I love Pennsylvania, so it's hard for me to talk bad about it, but they're losing population. Pennsylvania, bless its cheesesteak-loving heart, has a few quirks that might inspire a change of scenery. Between the never-ending winter that somehow lasts from October to May, the aggressive driving where the Pittsburgh left is considered a survival tactic, and the constant debate over whether it's pronounced water or water. Some folks just need a break from Pennsylvania. Myself, I really like the rural, small towns of Pennsylvania. They're beautiful. But you got cities like Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. They're not the greatest. Pittsburgh's shown a little more life and people are starting to move there again. But people in Pennsylvania, I think they've just had enough of Philadelphia. A lot of wonderful history. It's got a lot of problems. And that's where a lot of the people are leaving from. The number one reason people leave Pennsylvania, they say it's because of jobs. In 2023, Pennsylvania lost 0.3% of their population.
Interesting. But doesn't it have like a tech scene, like a remote? Most people these days work semi-remote and stuff. So why would a place like Pennsylvania not be able to have industry like that? Anybody watching this that lives in Pennsylvania, is it hard to find a job there? Like in the whole state, even if you're in Philly? Mississippi, okay.
Number 7,
South.
Mississippi. Folks say Mississippi is so humid your shadow will sweat. I've been there quite a few times, and I have family from Mississippi. I've been there many a summers. In the middle of the frickin' state, too, and I can tell you that is true. The locals don't seem to think it's that bad, but if you move there or you visit Mississippi during, let's say, July or August, you'll be glossy the whole time. And it also doesn't help that the mosquitoes are so big in Mississippi, you could keep some in a bird cage. Oh, they're brutal there. The only state in my experience that I thought the mosquitoes were worse was Michigan, of all places. Mississippi also has a serious problem with poverty and jobs, and that's why a lot of people leave this state. It's not just the humidity and the mosquitoes, it's the jobs are what's really killing this state. And that's why a lot of people pack their bags, their sweet tea, and head for drier, less buggy, and fiscally safer pastures. The number one reason people say they left Mississippi? Better job. In 2023, Mississippi lost 0.4% of their population.
That's quite a lot. I mean, let's assume that the population of Mississippi is 10 million, just as an example. That means that they lost 1% of 10 million is, I believe, 100,000, right? And so that means they lost 40,000 people. That's quite a lot of people. Oregon. I hear there's
Number
a lot of
6,
problems with
Oregon.
substance.
Some say Oregonians are disappearing to follow the sun, desperate for a glimpse of that glowing orb after months of drizzle and gray skies. And that does play a big part. I talk to people all the time about where they moved to and where they live. A lot of people tell me they came to Oregon for a couple years and they just couldn't handle the gray skies all the time. Which, yeah, it'll wear on you. They have this thing called seasonal affective disorder, which, because no sunshine, less vitamin D, and people get a little depressed. Think that's why we have so many strip clubs. Now, Portland has its homeless situation.
Yeah,
but the rest of the state is beautiful once you get past the gray skies. Get out in the woods, you'll see a different world. You might even see Bigfoot. They claim he's all over the place around here. Haven't seen him in years. Maybe he's done a voluntary relocation program thing. Maybe he's in Idaho now. But if you like craft beer, strip clubs, and gray skies and rain, Oregon is for you. Everyone else should move someplace else. You know, it's weird how the fortune has changed for Oregon. Oregon was one of the most moved to states since about 1985.
Wow.
This state has only had one census where they gained less than double digits, and that was in the 1990 census where they gained about 8%. Every other year is anywhere from 14% to 92% growth. This next census coming up in a few years, 2030 to be exact, they're expected, if things stay the way they are, to lose about 4%. That is a drastic change that has seen double digits almost every single census. The number one reason people give when they leave Oregon? The weather. In 2023, Oregon lost 0.4% of their population.
I'd love to know where the people that left certain states because of the weather, where they moved to. I'm guessing, because where's a warm state that's also affordable? Florida, maybe? Arizona, maybe? Because California, not affordable, really, for most people. Hawaii. Wow.
Number 5, Hawaii. Hawaii is the land of sunshine, surf, and skyrocketing rents. That's a real thing. Their rent is insane right now. Seems like paradise does have a price tag, and it's not just for Mai Tais. Locals are swapping leis for U-Hauls and bidding aloha to the island as they flee to more affordable zip codes. Apparently, living off coconuts and sunshine isn't sustainable, as Instagram influencers would like you to believe. The only thing growing faster than the waves is the cost.
Beautiful skyline, though. I would love to go. I need to go to Hawaii soon.
To living in Hawaii. With housing prices reaching astronomical heights, it's no wonder many are trading their oceanfront views for humble abodes with a white picket fence in places like Nebraska. Who needs a beach bungalow with an ocean view when you can have a backyard with a barbecue and a savings account? In 2023, Hawaii lost 0.5% of their population.
Wow. Hawaii. I mean, yeah, it must be expensive. It's such a scenic and beautiful place to be. Why is it that rents are just, can't they just build more homes? I know it's just a small island, but isn't there space to build more homes?
Number 4, West Virginia. West Virginia, the land of breathtaking mountains, overflowing hospitality, and an alarming number of missing cousins. It seems folks are
What?
hightailing it out of the mountain state faster than you can say, I have bats in my attic, but I don't mind because it keeps the skeeters down. Maybe it's the lack of decent cell service that leaves them craving for a connection to the outside world, or perhaps they've grown tired of explaining to outsiders that no, not everyone lives in a log cabin here in West Virginia and has squirrels for pets. Some speculate it's the state's particular obsession with pepperoni rolls that sends them running for culinary diversity. Who knows? Really, it's jobs. The job market in West Virginia has been dying every single year for quite some time now. Ever since the coal industry kind of folded, it put a lot of people out of work and a lot of businesses that supported the coal industry out of work. Now, the coal industry is still there, but nothing like it used to be. And I know there's going to be a whole bunch of people in the comments section that will say coal is coming back or coal's doing great. No, it's not. It may be doing better than it did, let's say, in 2019, but go back and look at the 1990s. How many people were employed in the coal industry back then? The 80s, 90s.
And should we really, it's coal? I thought we were trying to get more, environmentally friendly. I feel like coal was one of the power sources that we were trying to kind of get away from. Why don't we use nuclear more? Nuclear is far more green.
90s, 70s, 60s, even the early 2000s. Coal will be around for a very long time, just not at the volume it once was. The number one reason given for leaving West Virginia? Jobs. In 2023, West Virginia lost 0.7% of their population. Number 3, Louisiana. Folks say there are only 2 seasons in Louisiana, crawfish and football. While that sounds like a party, the humidity clings tighter in this state than a girlfriend with abandonment issues. It's the kind of heat that makes you sweat just thinking about stepping outside. This is another state, because it's in the south, that has horrible mosquitoes. They're practically the state bird, as the old saying goes. They say Louisiana mosquitoes don't bite, they draw blood. So yeah, some folks pack their bags for drier, less itchy climates. But at least they leave with a colorful
That is a cool looking stadium though. That dome?
vocabulary and a newfound appreciation for air conditioning. Louisiana has a host of problems. Poverty's a big one, but also their cities are some of the most dangerous cities we have in the
Yeah, I've heard crime in Louisiana is really high. Like corruption too, I've heard is really bad there.
nation. If you look at the top 25 most dangerous cities, you're going to find 3: Shreveport, Baton Rouge, and New Orleans. The number one reason given by people leaving Louisiana was the crime rate. In 2023, Louisiana lost 0.8% of their population.
That's a lot. Again, assuming a population of 10 million, which it probably is more than that, that's 80,000 people.
Number 2, Illinois. Yes, Illinois is losing population, and they're not all leaving Chicago. Chicago is losing a bunch, but other cities too.
What's going on with this road? What's with all these squiggly... What is this?
This is another state where they think that the locals are just chasing the sun. They're tired of the harsh winters, and they're just leaving the state for warmer climates. Illinois has been sending people to Utah for decades. Actually, century or so. The Mormons came right through here to end up in Utah. Well, Utah's become very popular with people leaving Illinois. They don't want to go to Nevada. They don't want to go to Arizona or New Mexico. They're landing in Utah and they're staying there. If you eliminate the bordering states, the 2 states that send Utah the most people are California and Illinois. The number one reason given for leaving Illinois is weather. In 2023, Illinois lost 0.8% of their population.
What's the weather like in Illinois? I know Chicago is called the Windy City, but is wind enough of a reason for people to want to leave? Or does it get super cold? Is it like a really cold state? I wouldn't have thought so.
All right, before we get to number 1, if you're thinking about moving to another state or another city, there's a link for Home and Money in the description area below. They can get you in touch with a real estate agent anywhere in the country. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, New York. Yes, New York State is losing a lot of people, and I'll tell you right now, almost all of them are leaving New York City for someplace else. New York City is the city that never sleeps. It's also the city that never lets you afford a decent apartment. Between battling subway rats the size of chihuahuas, dodging slow-walking tourists in Times Square, and paying a small fortune for a cup of coffee, it's no wonder people are ditching the Big Apple for greener pastures.
Yeah, I was at a wedding last weekend, and speaking to a friend of the groom, and he lives in New York, and for a 1-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn, he pays $3,000 a month, which is about 2,300, 2,400 pounds a month for a 1-bed. And that's not even Manhattan. Like that seems really expensive to me. Like in London, you could pay, like in the most bougie area, let's say South Kensington, or I'm trying to think of somewhere super bougie, like let's say South Kensington, you could get a 1-bed for like 1,500 to 2K. So you're paying even more than that for not even the bougiest part of New York. New York is expensive. It really, really is.
It's almost like what's going on in Hawaii. Who needs an oceanfront view when you can have a barbecue in a nice backyard? That's kind of how a lot of New Yorkers are feeling these days. They're leaving New York City and moving into upstate New York, places like that, but a lot of them are heading to New Jersey. Obviously, you have the people that are retiring, moving to Florida, but states like Minnesota and Wisconsin are getting a lot of New Yorkers, and they're moving into the suburbs. They're tired of the city. Now, they do have a small amount of people leaving the upstate area of New York, but yeah, like 99% of the people leaving that state are coming out of New York City. So people are saying so long New York and hello to suburbia and sensible shoes. The number one reason people give for leaving New York is cost of living. In 2023, New York lost 0.9% of their population.
Wow. Yeah, sometimes I think to myself, how do the people who aren't making, 6 figures in New York City or Manhattan, how do they afford to live there? Because it seems like everything was just so expensive in New York. Like, definitely more expensive than London, for sure. The only thing that was more expensive in London is the metro system. So the metro system here is more expensive, but food, entertainment, everything else in New York was more expensive. So it just seemed to me like, unless people are really, grouping together and like sharing rooms, literally like sleeping 2 people to a room, like how do you afford to live in a state like Manhattan, for example? So I'm not surprised to hear about the huge amount of people leaving the city. The cost of living in a lot of states and countries is out of control. Like people who aren't making really good money are struggling a lot, and I don't know what's going to be done. I don't think anything probably will be done. But yeah, it's interesting to see people who 10 years ago, 15 years ago, like needing to go to a food bank to get their meal for the night. It's sad, really. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoy my videos, please help me out by liking and subscribing.